So there's a class of people in this world, very, very elite, very, very wealthy, very, very rich. They know all about the modern slave trade. Anyone in high positions of power knows about the modern slave trade. Let's get into that, shall we? And guess what? Guess who else knows all about it? Since we're all woke, vibes, vibrations, channels, frequencies, ESP, magic, gifts of God, the bus drivers know where all of the rooms are, where they hold all the children and where all the slaves congregate as they're moved from city to city. The psychology of permitting continued slavery relies on the mechanisms of chemical drugs and deceptive law, specifically having dirty police run the streets and getting the hatred of police riled up at the same time. See the youth all hating cops, yet most cops are of good intention. However, the streets make it cool to hate because of police violence being rampant, when it's really human violence that's rampant. Look at our world right now, it's human violence. Very few police are actually dirty or evil, whereas the streets fully promote overdose deaths and buying and selling of human beings, our brothers and sisters, all in the name of monetary gain, money, even murder of friends and family to prove loyalty. You understand? Our country sends people to injury or death for the mining of resources, working on electricity, and other things. Here's a list of dangerous jobs: logging, pilots, flight engineers, roofers, construction helpers, crossing guards, garbage collectors, farm supervisors, delivery drivers, iron workers, farmers, cement masons, agricultural workers, construction supervisors, highway maintenance workers, grounds maintenance workers, mining machine operators, supervisors of mechanics, power line workers, construction equipment operators, maintenance workers, heavy vehicle mechanics, crane operators, landscaping supervisors, and yes, police and military are also dangerous jobs that can get you killed. Thus, in the interest of money, our country accepts risk of injury or death for workers and monetary gain. Yet we refuse injury or death in the name of justice, or to say it another way, to protect our families and our communities. The use of drugs for mind control and therefore social control has gotten out of hand. In the 1980s, a huge media campaign, Say No to Drugs, was popularized, while at the same time, the United States policy was to create a massive push to eradicate mental illness using drugs, while simultaneously releasing a large population of mentally ill people from hospitals into the streets. Here in Washington, D.C., it would have been from St. Elizabeth's Hospital, where many mentally ill people resided. That was in Southeast, across from the Congressional Heights Metro Center. Yet conceptually, on a nationwide basis, these hospitals existed. Then the medications are used as party drugs. These are party drugs, but also called medications. They were promoted ferociously by doctors in the 1980s and still today. One common path that people might have heard of: Ritalin to Adderall to Vyvanse. These are given to children who are hyperactive or have a diagnosis of ADHD or ADD, meaning they are overstimulated by society and often bored in school settings. Can you blame them? Yet these drugs or meds are scientifically similar to meth or cocaine, this Adderall, this Vyvanse. So crystal meth or cocaine, yet they prescribe it to children. And Adderall is used by adults for the same effects, yet with a prescription and totally legal as cocaine and crystal meth. And Vyvanse today is slow-release Adderall. But there's a list of lots and lots of drugs. Go down that list, and these drugs are addictive substances that alter biochemistry and create people unable to function without them or a replacement drug. Often their parents used hard drugs, cocaine, or other drugs, creating babies who are already biochemically confounded at birth. And this goes across the board with Xanax babies, Zyprexa babies, Paxil babies, Prozac babies, Geodon babies. I mean, there's all kinds of strange drugs these days with strange names. Lots of them. Yet we don't seem to see the relation here, yet it is very real. People talked about crack babies in the 1980s and the 1990s. Now we've got all these prescription babies. And it hurts me deep within my soul. Now let's talk about triggers. Let's talk about crack cocaine. Let's not even talk about the imbalance between powder cocaine and crack cocaine, where rich people afford powder cocaine and poor people afford crack. And people with crack get long prison sentences, while powder cocaine users and distributors, and it's a mess, okay? Anyways, there was a song popular many years ago called Ring My Bell. The song Ring My Bell was popular in the 80s, and I'm told that crack cocaine causes people to hear a ringing noise in their head. So when the song Ring My Bell came on the radio, anyone who was addicted to crack, whether using or trying to quit, that song was a trigger to remind users where to get the drug. A person might have a good day, then on the radio somewhere they heard, "Ring my bell, ring my bell." It's a song. And they began to feel the need again, evil as this system is. Now let's fast forward to 2019 when I first lived outside in Florida. And in Tampa, the city of Tampa, every night people approach others while they're sleeping on the streets, in doorways and in church colonnades. Dealers go person to person trying to re-up people if they are in need or identify what drugs they do need. So as soon as a person is homeless, they cannot escape the availability, young or old. I watched and saw in horror. It was really mind-boggling. I never knew. I didn't understand. Also used are sounds of loud engines, be they car or motorcycle sounds. And in Tampa, it was every night around 3 a.m. Either someone would drive through the downtown with a loud glass pack, round, round, motorcycle, or an actual motorcycle cackling engine and make that noise. Or sometimes it seemed it came out of a speaker from a window, like a PA system, a loudspeaker playing the noise, like a recording of a motorcycle sound. And that would wake up anybody sleeping and remind them to stay addicted and to go find drugs. And drugs are everywhere. Now let's talk about Washington, D.C. This is where I live in a tent and I'm totally vulnerable. Yet I don't use drugs or alcohol or tobacco. Only flowers, only cannabis, only marijuana, only weed, only ganja. And yes, I have that in me. Service of God, service of Jah. By any name or any language, all the same creator of all things. So I watch and learn as a trained social person. I've studied social interactions. I've studied the effects of human beings, their imprint left on earth as an anthropologist and a sociologist. I've studied the qualitative and the quantitative sides of these things. It's heartbreaking to see what goes on in our communities, and people don't seem to care or pay attention or notice, or maybe they just are too busy going to work. Like me as a homeless person here now 20 minutes from where I grew up, where I was supposedly popular and everybody knew me. Yet no one comes to check on me at age 51, homeless in Washington, D.C. You know, another thing that's used are smells. Smells are also cues to remind addicts of the drugs that they want. This especially making the journey to sobriety difficult for all. I know people who have died from drugs, and I know people who try to stay sober. And these noises, these public cues, these smells, these songs, they all remind people. They all create that itch And these are of the physical realm. What of the metaphysical? That is the ethereal, magic, powers of God, gifts of God. These have also been added as mechanisms within this evil drug-induced power structure of slavery and humanity. And that means people who create confusions using sounds, smells, or sights. And let me repeat, that means people who create confusions using sounds, smells, or sights. Even false memories through dream infusions by magicians, so to speak. Modern science denounces God and gifts of God, thus using what is known as the Baker Act in Florida, or it's called 5150 out in California. And around Washington, D.C., it's just called being a danger to yourself or others. So the doctors are all on board with using drug control on as many people as possible and using psychiatric wards to do it. They'll put you in the mental hospital to create a drug addiction for you. You don't ever even have to commit a crime. Then, once you're inside the psychiatric wards, the psych wards, the loony bins, the cuckoo's nest, once you're inside, the career magicians go to work on you, backed up by the Holy Roman Catholic Church. And guess what? They even bring in specialists to do this evil work. Sure, it sounds wacky, huh? Does it sound wacky that the Catholic Church is the most publicly known authority and organized group of human traffickers on the planet? Think about that. Think about what they did to all the children, the Native Americans, and all the children in other countries, where they brainwashed them, murder them, and cause them to take on new cultures and reject their old cultures. Anyways, well, there's this thing these days called woke. How woke are you? Do you care about only yourself? Do you only care about your family and crew or your set? And I'm asking you seriously, who do you care about? Really? 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 So, are you like me? Do you care about a lot more and ending all this evil on the planet for the future of all children? I care, and that's why I serve God. I don't have a choice. And if I do have a choice, it is my choice to serve God, to end this evil on the planet. If you care too, please reach out to me. We rise by lifting others, and I need help because I'm all alone out here in this war, or at least what I call a war. I say wake up, everybody. I wake up alone, grasping to understand how this evil continues. And this evil is all around us. We have all been good or bad, right? All of us have been good, all of us have been bad. Yet evil is a totally different and very, very real thing. And very few are evil. Let's get together. Let's stop all the evil people. Please help me. We can accomplish it together. And only together can we accomplish success. I'm here in Washington, D.C., but Orlando is the capital of conference centers for the entire planet. More businesses and organizations meet in Orlando than anywhere else for their business practices. What does that mean? That means that there's more slavery in Orlando than anywhere else, more sex slaves, and likely more children in cages. And if we're all woke at this point, then guess who knows where all the children are? All the bus drivers across the world. Get it?
Brought to you by Dr. Robert DuPont, the former drug czar of the United States of America, the DuPont chemical family, and DuPont Circle, as well as the American Medical Association. Oh, I don't know if you could say that. Okay. All right, bye.